Okay, so now we're gonna read the second chapter. It's chapter 2, The Jurassic Kitchen. Let's go. We follow the path around the modern building that houses student services and the humanities classrooms, and head towards the older part of the school, the mansion. The mansion is like something out of a haunted house movie. All creaky wooden staircases, dark nooks, and the heads of long dead stags hanging on the walls. There are tons of stories about weird stuff happening in there, strange screams in the night, and footsteps along empty corridors. But we've met way worse things than ghosts there. It's that part of the year between autumn and winter when I'm still resisting my big coat and pretending not to shiver when my mom insists that I must be cold. It's a battle we have every year, and I will stretch it out for as long as I can. The sharp air stings my nose, overpowering the mulchy smell that always drifts over from the Dreadwood. As we reach the corner of the classroom block, the front of the school stretches ahead us, most of it huddled in the darkness, but with a hub of light and activity from the car park to the main foyer, where the visitors are entering in small groups. They move so fast to get out of the cold, and the entrance sucks them into its pool of light, right, like a hungry mouth slurping in crouton-spotted soup. The foyer leads with the assembly hall, where Mr. Hume will soon be giving a speech about the wonders of Dreadwood High. Front way or back way? Naira says, through clenched teeth. I guess she's feeling the chill too. Don't want to run into Sussy Hume, Gus says, so back way. Yeah, Colette holds back the curls of her hair that are blowing into her face. Definitely. When we got back from the trip to France, we promised Mr. C that we'd keep out of Hume's way. The guy's 100% up to some seriously bad stuff, and we're desperate to find out if he's been working with the Latchets. But we also know we have to be careful, because if he's on Team Latchet, then he probably wants us out of the way for good. And now is not the time for a showdown. So we turn away from the reassuring glow of the foyer and take the path that passes the arts and science blocks and will lead us to the smaller entrance of the dining hall. Mr. C probably got called away to deal with something and is running behind. Haley breaks the silence suddenly, confirming that she's worrying about the same thing that I am. I think all of us are stressing about our favorite teacher. Oh god, Haley's trying to look on the positive side, Gus says. That can be an end of the world omen. We do all tend to jump straight to the worst case scenario, Naira says. Well, there must be hundreds of reasonable explanations for Mr. Canton not coming back, and most of them won't involve anything awful. You sure about that, Nai? Gus says. 'Cause your mouth is saying the words, but I can see your ponytail all twitching like it's about to go full fright hair on Elm Street again. Why does it always come back to my hair? Naira says. Either that or cannibalism. Because we live in uncertain times, Naira. Gus pats her on the shoulder. And your hair and cannibalism are our only constants. As we get further behind the school buildings, the darkness around us grows. Across the field, I can see the shadowy trees in the Dreadwood looming, skeletal branches reaching into the navy sky. The wind gusts neatly on top. She takes one of the hats and passes it to Gus. You shouldn't encourage him, Naira. Haley rolls her eyes. Gus loves many things. Artisan snacks, pointy sticks, laughing at dumb stuff on the internet, and also randomly putting on costumes. I've never met anyone so comfortable with standing out, and I love that about him. Colette giggles as Gus takes the hat and looks at it adoringly. It would be rude not to, he says, placing it carefully on his head and then giving a weird wink and putting on an accent of some kind. Morning, Ducky. What'll it be for you today? I thought you talked about the winking thing always being a bad idea, I said, but I'm biting back a grin. Gus gazes at the kitchens stretched out in front of us, the rows of shiny metal counters glinting under the white strip lights. They lay out like a mirror maze. You can only see the area immediately around you, and anything beyond that is hidden. So this is where the magic happens. Or or where we get pack hunted by velociraptors. Colette peers down one of the rows like there might be something lurking in the space between. And it does feel like that. Like we're not alone here. Like there's someone or something watching us. Let's go. Haley starts moving towards the back of the room. Because it's weird that Mr. C hasn't popped up to tell us off already. Fine, but I'm wearing the hat. Gus follows her, and then the rest of us. Naira, Colette, and me. Single file, because the aisle space is narrow. Checking down each row for any signs of life. Actually, being chased through a professional kitchen is such a cliche, Naira says. I wish they'd stop putting those scenes in movies and TV. Yeah, it's just lazy writing. Nuh-uh, Gus says, running his fingers along a polished countertop. Some things become cliche because they're so awesome that people are always happy to see them. They're like a joyful version of cliche. A cliché. There's always giant pots of soup, and chefs doing the frying flipping thing, where actual flames rise up out of the pan, Colette says from in front of me. And like a stupid amount of chopping with the most badass looking knives, I say, picturing the kitchen as it would look in an action scene. Don't forget the waiting staff carrying impossibly balanced plates of food, Naira says, piled high and just waiting to be sent crashing down. All adds to the cliché drama, Gus says, and I wonder how the scene is playing out in his head. Similar to mine, probably, but about 100 times more over the top. Wouldn't be surprised if he added a couple of ninjas and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Guys, Haley says, breaking into a jog. Look, the trolley. She darts forward and turns a corner to a part of the kitchen that's tucked away in a separate section. On the counter, there are 3 metal canisters, the size of fire extinguishers, lids flipped open. Gus puts his hand over the top of one. Still warm, he says, and Mr. C hasn't been gone for long. Of course they're still warm, Naira rolls her eyes. They're like giant thermo flasks. It's their literal job to keep things warm. Even with the lids open, it would take ages for whatever is inside to go cold. What is inside? Gus says, peering into the urn. I hope it's not. Naira nudges him aside and sniffs. It's coffee. That's what they want you to think, Gus mutters quietly, and adjusts his dinner lady hat. The others are empty, Colette says, and the biscuits are still in packets, so Mr. C didn't get a chance to start doing what he was planning to do before leaving. Which is weird, I say, because we all know he never leaves a job unfinished. Haley's looking past us the trolley into a corner of the room where a half-open door creaks slightly, like it's being moved by a breeze that shouldn't exist. Because we're inside, and there are no windows in the kitchen. Mr. C? I say, hoping hard that he'll poke his head out of the doorway and say something embarrassing. But he doesn't. The door creaks again. I edge past the trolley and walk to the door. Because if there's something nasty behind it, then we might as well get it over with. I grab the handle and pull it open. It's a walk-in cupboard, full of cooking ingredients arranged neatly on shelves. But on the floor... Come, look, I say to the others, and they step up behind me and peer over my shoulders. At the back of the room, there's a slatted grate that's been fitted among the floor tiles. It's the size of a manhole cover, and made of dull, slightly rusted metal, which seems out of place, and the shininess of the kitchen against the shininess of the kitchen. And though it's clearly been in place for a very long time, someone has recently moved it, scraping it across the tiles to reveal an opening underneath. Is that a frickin' trap door? Haley says. It might be if we were at a kid's magic show, Naira says. In big school, we call them concealed access points to underground areas. It's a frickin' trap door. Colette gasps. And someone's opened it in the last hour or so, I say. Angelo's the magician, Gus says. He's using his all-seeing eye to look into the past. No, I say. I'm using my actual eyes to see the ink on the ground that's been smeared into tracks where the grate's been dragged through. It's still wet. They all fall silent, and I reckon their brains are racing into the same thoughts as mine is. Mr. C's clipboard. Colette grabs my arm with one hand and then point with the other at the clipboard, poking out from underneath on the shelves like it skidded across the floor. I pull my phone out of my pocket and turn on the torch, shining it down into the rectangle of dark that used to be hidden behind the grate. There's a big drop, maybe 10 meters, and then a rough stone floor below. And way too conveniently, there's a ladder. Right, now it looks down into the passage. So it's obviously a trap then. Yeah, obviously, I say. But Mr. C is clearly down there, and he's one of us. So we all know what we're going to do. I'll go first, I say, lowering myself into the opening. Torch gripped tightly in my right hand, the cold smoothness of the ladder biting into the skin of my left one. I test the rungs of the ladder as I go. They're solid, as I knew they would be. And then my feet hit the ground, kicking up a layer of grit and dust. And I shine my torch into the darkness ahead. And that's chapter 2 done.